You are all excited, you have your lender pre-approval, and you have made your list of homes to tour. You are ready to buy a home. If it's been a while though, since you've bought a home or you're a first-time home buyer, this video will help cover my 13 things to think about when you're touring a home so you make a great purchasing decision. Of course, I always still recommend a home inspection by a professional, and don't forget to check out my video on what to expect from a home inspection. But if you follow the list of 13 things in this video, it may save you the cost of an inspection on a house that's not even worth purchasing. My name is Cayla Schluter, and I'm a licensed real estate agent with RE/MAX Results. I work with a Locker Home Group. The video today is from an older home in Minneapolis, and clearly older homes come with a lot more character and charm than the newer built ones. Although you should really still review the craftsmanship and quality in brand new homes. You'd be surprised what you find. Now, before we go inside, let's start with the outside components by taking a walk around the outside of the house. So, number one, foundation and concrete work. Look for cracks or any signs of repair. Is the foundation a slab, on block, stone, or is it poured? Check out those concrete walkways. Are they a tripping hazard? Have they been mud jacked before? That could be a good sign that you may need to do that again in the future, or maybe just replace those walkways. Now, is the stoop in good condition or is it falling apart? Concrete work can actually be fairly expensive, so it's a really good place to check out and check that off the list. All right, number two, landscaping. Check to see if the landscaping is properly sloped away from the house. This will help with water issues in coming into your foundation, so hopefully it'll keep your basement dry. Number three, trees. You know, this is an often overlooked component on home tours, but you know, it's worth the glance around the property to make sure you don't have any trees that need to come down right away. Number four, roof repair. Take a glance around and see if you notice anything special about the roof. Look to see if it looks newer or if you see any shingles curling or any signs of missing shingles. You don't have to be an expert to notice those things. And just know in the winter you might have a little bit of a challenge reviewing the roof. So do what you can. Number five, siding and gutters. Notice what kind of siding is on the house, or maybe it's stucco or brick. Look for any damage of any sort. If it is siding, notice what kind of material it's made out of. Is it wood, vinyl, metal, or some other kind of man-made product that's popular right now? Does the home need to be painted if it is siding? You know, some of those do have some maintenance related to them. Now, if it's stucco, check for cracks. You know, the stucco is known for having some cracking issues. Also, just take a glance at the fascia. See if it's wood, and is it in good condition, or does it need to be painted as well? Now that we're outside, also just take a glance at the windows from the outside. Are they wrapped, or will you need to paint the trim? All right, moving on to gutters. Now, gutters are not horribly expensive, and they will greatly help divert water away from your house. Also note where the gutters are. It's really helpful to have gutters over your main entrances or over the garage, because this will help prevent water from dripping right where the main traffic areas are. Also note though, where do the gutters end up? Because if your downspouts are pointing into a main walkway, you may have some ice issues in the winter on some kind of heavy traffic areas. So just be aware of those things while you're walking through your homes. All right, number six, retaining walls. Does your property have any retaining walls on it, and what condition are they in? These can be pretty expensive to replace. Number seven, windows. Now, if you've ever been a client of mine, you would understand my obsession with windows. They are one of the most expensive things you can replace. So open them, close them, check for any signs of moisture damage on the jambs, check for pop seals. You know, just have a good handle on the condition of these windows. Also, quick tip, if they are a name brand window, they will have a little bit of a stamp, a etched in stamp on one of the bottom corners. So you'll be able to tell approximately when they were installed and the type of window they are if they're a name brand window. So, quick tip. All right, moving on to number 8, fireplaces. Now, the wood burning fireplaces can be super expensive to update if it hasn't been properly kept up. So if you have this dream of building a wood fire, absolutely get it checked out during your inspection period, or at least during your home tour. Take a look at it and then follow up in the disclosures to see what the homeowner says, if it's in working order or not. But either way, do not take the homeowner's opinion. Make sure you get it inspected during your inspection period if that's something you dream about using. Moving on to number 9, electrical and plumbing. Take a glance around, but these systems are very difficult to tell by merely viewing. But there are a few things you can tell on your home tour. So take a look at the circuit breaker box. Where is it? What size is it? You can usually tell how many amps it is. It's usually 100, 150, and the newer homes are built with 200 amps typically. Also note, is it fuses or breakers? Most homes will have breakers, but every once in a while I come across a fuse box. Also, if it's an older home, it may have ungrounded 2-prong outlets. That's visible. You can be able to see those during your walkthrough tour. Also, you can note, have they updated for GFCIs? Do you have those above the kitchen countertops and within 6 feet of any water source? And they should be on the outside of the house and in the garage. It's not the end of the world if they don't have those. It is a safety thing, and it is code nowadays, but it is something to just note while you're doing your home walkthrough. Now, honestly, I think plumbing is even more difficult to tell than electrical, so you may have no idea, and that's okay. But you certainly can open the cabinets below the sinks and see if there's any moisture damage under the kitchen sink or the bathroom sinks. And you might be able to tell if it looks kind of like a DIY job or not. So those are things you can do easily enough during your home tours. All right, number 10, mechanicals. All right, those are going to be what I consider heating, AC, water heater, water softener. Now, water softeners and water heaters, I don't get too worried about because those are relatively inexpensive in comparison to the other things in a house that can go wrong. But a water heater is actually very easy to tell how old it is. Most water heaters will have some sort of a code or a date of manufacturing on the water heaters. So those are really easy to test and just check how old they are. For the AC and furnace, just look and see how old they look. There's also a way to tell if it's a high efficiency furnace or just a builder's grade. Check the disclosures to see if you can tell a time of installation. All that stuff is really important just to take into your thoughts while you're making an offer on a house. Now, mechanicals have an average lifespan. That's all it is, you guys. It's an average. So when someone says, oh, a furnace should last 20 to 30 years, just because this is a 15-year-old furnace, you can't just say, oh, it's got 5 years left or 15 years left. It's just an average, but it's really good to think about so that in your future budgeting, you can, plan accordingly with your budget. All right, moving on to basement issues. In a basement, you can look at the actual structure of the home and determine kind of an idea of how strong it might be based on, the actual materials used. But that's beyond what I would expect on a normal home tour or what you might know to look for. But I have seen trunks of trees used in floor joists before in an older St. Paul home. So, you can see that kind of stuff. But, on a high level, what I kind of look for in a basement is kind of look for signs of water damage. Take a look at the sill plates that are on the floors, if they're exposed, to see if there's any kind of water staining on them. Also look at the concrete for efflorescence, staining, or signs of mold of any sort on those. Also, look and see how the homeowner is storing their items if it's an occupied home. In a basement, you can see if they're using cardboard boxes on the floor. It's probably relatively dry. If they've got everything lifted off the floor, you might have some water issues. Also on your basement walkthrough tour, just take a look and see if there's a radon installation. Check to see if there's a sump pump. Is the basement drain tiled? All those things you can easily see by, kind of walking through. The drain tile might be a little trickier, but the other ones are pretty easy. Having water in your basement occasionally isn't the end of the world, unless it's finished, of course. But if it's unfinished, that can be something you can do in the future, is to add the sump pump, add drain tile, but you really want to know all that stuff up front so you can budget accordingly when you're at the purchasing of the home. All right, moving on. Number 12, garage. Let's go take a look at the garage. Usually, the biggest thing I see on garages is the apron in front of the garage is usually sunken. And, that can be fixed, but just make sure that you're looking at that. Check out the condition of the driveway. Make sure it's in, the asphalt's not crumbling, or if it's concrete. Concrete's an upgrade, so that's nice to see. Also, inside the garage, just look to see if the floors are cracked. And you know what? It's not a big deal if they're cracked, but if it's severely uneven, that could be kind of a bad thing for you. Also, check to see if the garage door is in good condition. Does it open? Does it shut? If there's electrical in the garage, does it reverse when you stick your foot in front of the light sensors? All that stuff is really good to check out when you're doing your garage walkthrough. Also note, is the garage good and square or well built, so it's still pretty sturdy? Does the roof need to be reshingled, or does it need to be sided on the outside? Just look at the general condition of a garage. A garage is going to be much more reasonable to fix and correct and replace than a house, but you don't want to have those big expenses right off the bat either. Number 13, sewer, septic, and well. Look to see while you're doing your basement walkthrough to see if you notice there's any new PVC pipes, especially in that main drain. That would probably be a telltale sign that some work has been done in there recently, especially on these 1920s type older houses. Clearly they were not installed with PVC, so you can just know that something may have been done. Look to your disclosures to see if anything's noted. Right now, getting that main drain sewer scoped is really important. Those can be a rather large hit to your pocketbook if you find out once you move in that you got to be replacing that main drain. So that's going to be a worthwhile investment, in my opinion, when you're doing your inspection. But when you're doing a home tour, you can quickly look just to see if anything's been touched there on that main drain. And again, if you're on a larger lot with a private sewer or private well, check out my videos on those topics specifically, because they're going to have a whole slew of their own issues. And of course, finally, 13 was my number, but I'm going to give you a little bonus at the end here. When walking through a home, outside of these 13 main components, the home tour is meant for you to decide if you like the layout, if you like the general feel of the home. Could you live here? And you also want to check out the cosmetic stuff. Do you like the flooring? Do you need to paint? Do you need to upgrade kitchen appliances or countertops? I think of those things as kind of cosmetic changes, not really structural or high expense items, but they're always things to keep in mind while you're doing your home tours. Keep in mind, none of these things that I have mentioned are deal breakers. After all, anything can be fixed with enough money, but you should have an idea of what you're going to get into in a home and know if you're the one that has to put in that money. I hope you have found these 13 things helpful while doing your walkthrough tours. As always, please subscribe, make comments if I missed something or you have any feedback on what I've presented. Thank you again for taking the time to listen. I appreciate it. Have a great one. Take care.